sake. So at the beginning of the year, I started a Serbian series. A series where I watch a Serbian film and talk about it. I don't think it's a very good film, but it's a film that many people class as one of the most disturbing movies of all time. I watched it a bunch when I was younger, and when I started this series, it had been a long time since I watched it. Yes, it is a disturbing film, but I don't think it's a good film. So much so that I lost faith in the entire series and gave up. I got bored. But it's been bugging me that I haven't finished it. So here we are. This is where we're picking up. So he has just aggressively ended a person with a schlong to the eye. I really hate the filter that they have over this entire film. It's so aggressive and sepia and gross. I just remembered something. I had to go back. That isn't where we left off. There are two figures on a bed. He has been forced into the room to have his jolly old way with the pair of them. If you know this film, you know exactly where I'm at. I'm sorry. He's got such an aggressive face as he's going to town. Everyone in the room is watching. They must all know what's happening. I know what's happening, and it's really fucking gross. Oh, Christ. Yep. He's doing the thing we all know he's doing. I'm gonna turn the sound down. I forgot how actually graphic this film is. Oh, it's bad. It's really bad. It's really bad. It's not pleasant to watch. Especially because you know what's happening. Another guy's joined in and they're giving each other an aggressive bro look. It's so bad. I mean, what's happening is bad, but the CGI is also really bad. I forgot the man behind the mask is the brother. And they are revealing who the two people on the bed are. And the first one is his wife. And the second, oh, it's really fucking harsh. I forgot how shocking it actually is. A real happy Serbian family. Right, we are now back at the eyeball schlong scene. The sound effects are so gross. And it looks really bad as well. I remember the first time I saw it being like, holy shit, but I was young, I didn't know any better. But it actually looks quite bad. I don't know how you would continue on about your day after this has happened. So he's driving around in his car. I think he's trying to figure out what's going on. We cut to a grotesque image of his wife and his kid in a dirty bed. They're all messed up. It's really grim. He walks into the room, doesn't know what to do with himself, so he shuts the door. He's basically flapping about for a bit. I don't really know what he's doing. He's just walking around. And he's trying to end it, but there are no pew-pews in his pew-pew. He falls asleep. I don't know if I would ever be able to fall asleep ever again after any of that. It's quite confusing, this ending. I think it's because I've dropped back into it after such a long time. I've forgotten what's happened. But it's memories. He's remembering these things that have happened. So he goes back home. His wife's there. The kid's there. She's all kinds of messed up. It seems as if they're trying to move on. They're trying to kind of be a family. But we all know how it's going to end. It doesn't end well. But as it seems, they simply can't live with what's happened, and rightfully so. The ending's a bit weird. They've shown so much graphic stuff throughout this film, but they decided to cut away, you know, for the final shot, which is weird. They should have just shown it. They've shown a lot worse. This film is dumb. It's stupid. It's so needlessly gross. The end scene, 3 guys, one of them's got a camera. They're filming what's just happened. And he says, start with the little one. So harsh. Now look, the only reason I made this video is because I started this series and I didn't finish it. I never really wanted to watch this film again, but so many people were telling me to watch it again. I'd seen it many, many times, But what I wanted to do was showcase how dumb this film is. I like disturbing content. I like that they went there. I like that they didn't shy away from showing a lot of the brutal stuff. But my point with this movie is it's needlessly disturbing. I like my films to have some kind of meaning, especially if they're going to be this gross. Alright, see you later. I never want to watch this film again. Bye.
All the cryptids, the one that I think could be real is the Jersey Devil, because there have been thousands of reports that have been well documented. I mean, the Jersey Devil has been seen since the 1700s. And these stories and these reports were published in so many newspaper articles. And still to this day, you ask the people near the Pine Barrens, they will tell you the Jersey Devil is real. Now, this is a story from 1998. There was this woman named Deborah. And Deborah said that she was young. She had this boyfriend. They had fell into rough times. So they had a friend who owned some land next to the Pine Barrens. And they let them park their RV there and live in it. And she said from time to time, living out in the woods, you would hear weird sounds or you would see animals. But for the most part, it wasn't that bad. She said then one night, she had let her dogs out. And all of a sudden, she hears her dogs outside barking at something, like they had smelled the scent of something. So she goes outside of the RV and she's yelling to her dogs, come here, where are you? And she said she could see her two dogs in front of her, but she sees up in the sky this black shadowy figure just come down, take her dog, and pick it up and carry it off into the air. And at the time, she said she thought it was an owl or a large bird or something. So she's freaking out. She's screaming her dog's name. She gets the other dog, puts it in the RV. She calls for her boyfriend, and they go out in the woods and they're looking for this dog. They cannot find it anywhere. The next day, they go back out into the woods to look for this dog. They notice this one tree, there's red stuff running down it. Well, they look up in the tree, and there is the dog. And it has been ripped apart into two pieces, and it's hanging from the tree. And they said this was a German Shepherd. It was, 98 pounds. So whatever it was had to be very big that carried this thing off, right? So after that, she was very cautious with leaving the dogs out at night. She didn't like to be outside at night. And she said a few nights she would, come home later at night and she was bringing some groceries in. And she would hear strange sounds like screams coming from the woods, and she would hurry up and run inside the RV. But she said the creepiest encounter with this thing was one night her and her boyfriend are asleep in the RV. And she said she had this very vivid dream. And she said standing in her bedroom there was this tall creature that had the legs of a horse, had sort of the face kind of a man, had these big long horns protruding from its head, had these sharp teeth, had red eyes. And this thing just looked at her and said, "Hello, Deborah." And she said right as it said, "Hello, Deborah," she woke up. Well, when she wakes up, she thinks oh, it was just a bad nightmare. Well, she hears what sounds like something moving on top of the RV. she wakes her boyfriend up and she's like, there's something on top of the RV. And they could hear what sounded like footsteps, but like if it was a horse kind of trotting on top of this RV. And she said all of a sudden they heard this unhumanly scream. And then, boom, whatever this was, it sort of flew off. The next day, she said she went on top of the RV with a ladder. And she looked up on the top of the RV and could see what looked like dirt impressions of hoof prints. So several months pass, and they kept having these weird encounters. And she said this night something just didn't feel right. And she said that her and her boyfriend were watching TV in the RV when all of a sudden something just hits the side of the RV. And she said it was so hard that stuff actually fell off the shelf. And she said then they started hearing these loud screams, and there was something outside of the RV, and it was kind of, flying around like low that they could see it out the window. So her boyfriend jumps in the driver's seat, starts it up, and starts driving away. And they said as they were driving, they hear a loud smashing sound on the top of the RV. Like this thing was trying to get in the top of, the RV. So her boyfriend just pushed on the gas pedal and went as fast as he can. And he said after about 5 miles, whatever this was left. And they managed to go to a friend's house. And when they get out, they could tell something was sort of had thrashed the outside of the RV because it was badly damaged. And Debbie said she would never go back to the Pine Barrens again.
Ready? Come on. Potty. Go on, Rocky. Look, I've got the light. It's safe. What?
He seems tense, hesitant, as if he senses something she doesn't. Rocky signaled that he needed to go outside. But what started as a routine trip quickly turned into something unexplainable.
All clear, Rocky. Go on. There you go. Look, I've got the light. There you go. Come on. Rocky, where'd you go?
Casey stays on the stairs, flashlight in hand, watching Rocky carefully. He moves slowly, as though uncertain about going further. She scans the yard, but nothing seems out of place. Then, suddenly, he's gone. Casey quickly points the light back toward the yard, calling out for him. But there's no sign of movement. And then, the unthinkable happens.
Come on, dude. Rocky? The hell? Is it a cat? Rocky? What are you doing up there? I thought you were down here. Rocky. Silly goose.
Rocky appears inside the house at the top of the stairs, completely silent. No one saw him go back in. No sound of his paws on the floor, no jingle of his collar. One commenter asks, how did he get there if she was blocking the stairs? Another writes, that's not Rocky, something's not right. And then there are his eyes, wide, fearful, and locked on the window as though something is still out there. A faint sound echoes from the woods, a high-pitched noise that some say resembles a cat, but others insist is anything but natural. Casey is frozen in disbelief. How did Rocky get inside, and why is he acting so strange? His eyes dart toward the window and he stays completely still, his fear unmistakable. One viewer comments, dogs know what we don't. If Rocky's scared, you should be too. Another adds, that might not even be Rocky anymore. But the biggest mystery remains. How did Rocky reappear in the house without anyone seeing or hearing him? And if that's really Rocky, what's out there? Or worse, what's waiting just beyond the window? Let me know what you think in the comments.
Rocky. Silly goose.
I actually heard a conspiracy that
Yeah.
eventually it's going to become illegal for us to change our face,
Change your...
the way you look.
Oh, like plastic surgery.
Yeah, eventually, or you would have to register how you look
Word.
later. Because if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Like, as a security thing, especially if eventually everything you do becomes just facial recognition. Or if they have, and this is not even a theory, this is already a thing.
Yeah.
People, like, if you walk in Yonge and Dundas, Toronto, or Times Square, that's like in New York. Now, they actually have cameras to look at everybody's faces and and ID everyone. And they especially have it at airports. And you know where they have it?
Yeah.
They have it at remember when we first tried getting into casino?
Okay.
And then they said, stand here, look straight. You know what that was?
Yeah, that was
That's facial recognition. Yeah. Now, this is the crazy part is what we don't realize, you know those face apps?
Yeah.
The ones that you can turn yourself into an old person, you can turn yourself into a girl, just using face morphs, whatever. All of that data, the facial data, that could be used. Like
what, though?
once they have it, they could use that for anything else.
Oh my
For what else? Literally anything else.
Yeah.
So if they have that image of you, technically that's their image that they own.
Damn.
Now, back this, at the airport, did you know you can opt out of the facial scan?
You can opt out of that?
Yeah, you know when you go in and you have to like do like a check-in, look straight,
Yeah,
and
you
they
have
take
to
a
answer
picture.
all those questions,
yeah,
right?
you can opt out of that because legally
They're
they
not
can
supposed
only
to
do
scan.
it. They can only do it if you give consent of it, and you give consent when you just do it. But what they're
That's sick.
taking is your metadata of your face,
Okay.
and that's worth money, especially for like some people, you know.
Yeah, I've never seen someone opt out of that one because I feel like that one was like, you have to do it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. That's what I thought.
Grandpa isn't here right now. No, he isn't here. He's gone, Molly. What are you looking at? Grandpa, can you hear me? Yeah. Oh my God.
Escucha, hágale suavecito. Espere. Hágale.
This story comes out of Missouri. There was this man named Phil, and he said this one weekend, him and his wife decided to go camping in the Ozarks. They had this area that they would go to, which was a friend's property, and they had kind of set up like this cleared area where they could camp for the weekend. So they go there, they set up their tents and everything, and he's enjoying his time with his wife. Well, he said later that night they go to bed and they are in their tent when he just like has this really bad dream. And in the dream, there is something like running through the woods and it's chasing him. And he said all of a sudden this thing turns and it starts going after his wife. And then boom, he wakes up. And he said when he woke up, he looked over and his wife was gone. She wasn't in the tent. So he starts freaking out like what's going on? Like, where's my wife? So he got up and goes outside of the tent and he starts yelling for his wife. She's not responding. So he goes off in the woods and he's looking around for her, yelling her name. And then in the corner of his eye, he sees something moving in the woods. So he goes in that direction, and there's his wife. And she's just standing in the woods, like looking up at the sky. And so Philip is like, hey, what are you doing out in the woods? Like, you had me scared. Like, I thought something happened to you. And she's like, oh, everything's okay, honey. I was just outside catching some fresh air. And he's like, okay. Well, do you want to come back to bed? She said, yeah. So they go back to the tent and they go to sleep. And the rest of the camping trip, right, is fine. They go back home. Well, he said ever since that night, his wife was just kind of different. Like something was off about her. And he couldn't really explain it. But there was a slight change in her voice and a slight change in kind of her personality and her mannerisms. And every so often, she would look at him and give him kind of this weird smile. And it just made him feel very uncomfortable. Well, he said one night, him and his wife, they go to bed. And they're just laying in the bed. And he said all of a sudden, his wife, her voice like changed. And she started saying like, I'm going to get you, Phil. I'm going to get you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I'm going to get you. I'm taking you back to the woods. And he's like, what's going on? And he said all of a sudden she jumped on top of him and started holding him down. And she was shaking him and up in his face, like yelling all kinds of swear words at him. And he said like he couldn't figure out how she had this much strength because she normally wasn't like a very strong person. But she was fully holding him down. He couldn't get up out of bed. And he said all of a sudden, like, he pushed her and she kind of like fell backwards onto the bed. And he said the next thing he knows, he sees this light leave her body and then go out the hallway. He hears the front door open and then close. And this wind kind of just blew through the house. And then he said everything was silent. And his wife was like, what's going on, honey? And she was like normal again. And she was completely confused about what had happened, and she couldn't remember anything up to that point when they had went on the camping trip. And he felt like something had taken over his wife.
Are they using birds to monitor us?
I Everything's on, I don't understand. Hello? Hello? What the? Oh gosh. I don't understand. Everything's on. Tumble dryer as well, really. Mom! Dad! Oh, what the hell? Ooh. What the hell's going on? Really?
Also from tonight in, I'm going to be
God's
speaking
sake.
to Don Powell, the drummer from Slave.
Is it the red one? Maybe. Oh, whoa. Mom, Dad, this... what the hell? I'm not a fan of the dark at the best of times. Let alone, man. Is that gonna come on? For goodness sake, Mom!
Hey, someone there?
Fuck me.
This man thought he was being robbed after hearing the glass on his back door shatter. But when he goes downstairs to check it out, instead of finding a person, he finds this. He had just moved into the house, and when he had purchased it, that wall was still up.
What the fuck? What the f-
Curiosity being what it is, he goes in to check it out. But he quickly learns why this part of his basement had been completely walled off. After falling into what appears to be an office building, he figures out he can't climb back up the way he came, so he does the only thing he can.
For the record, I did not know this was here.
He starts exploring his awesome new basement. However, that curiosity is becoming a full-on panic. And he doesn't appear to be alone down there.
Oh my god.
Eventually, he starts hearing what sounds like radio chatter. Thinking it might be other people that can help him, he runs to where they are. Of all the things that could have been down in this place, help was not one of them.